welcome back to Dazzy's Unite. This tutorial is actually not a tutorial at all. It is a product review for the Altern8 asset in the Daz Studio store. Altern8 is a really fantastic product that I've been using for a while now, and I would say it's probably the best product I've ever purchased from the store thus far, other than my favorite figure, which is Albany. But that's a whole other product review that I'll do some other time. But I had a particular request from a friend to do an Altern8 tutorial and, well, / product review. And so this is going to be a little bit of both. I've gone ahead and set up a figure. This is Machiko. I'm hoping I'm saying that correctly. And I've added a bit of lighting from the Render Studio 2 asset from the Daz Studio store. I've also popped in an outfit, I believe it's called Pastel Goth or Gothic outfit. So this is a Genesis 8 female, and she has great skin all on her own, but I plan to add some makeup to her face and then start adding in some Altern8 skin effects, so to speak, and just so you can kind of get a sense of what those are. First of all, I'll pop in some makeup, and the reason why I waited for that before starting this tutorial / product review is that is one of the biggest tips and the most important thing to do, is to make any changes to a figure's skin before you start applying the Altern8 settings. And they specifically say that in the tips. Let me see if I can show you that. Just for your reference so nobody's confused, this is my own organizational system here that I'm using. I'm not using the Smart Content folder. I prefer this method because I can get into things faster. So I currently have this information set up, and I'm trying to remember where I put it. It's been a while since I played with it, and I think it's in shaders. Yeah, I moved some things around and I'm trying to remember where I put stuff. I put it under skin shaders. Okay, so, oh wait, I forgot I'm gonna do makeup first. So let me pop over to figures, and she's Genesis 8, and she's down here. And we'll take a look. I don't think I'll do any blush. I'll just do some eye makeup and maybe change her eye color to something bright. I'll go with this one. Oops, we have to actually select what we want to apply it to, and that will be her. Okay, so that's changed. I can tell it's changed already. In fact, I'm going to pop over here and create what I usually do is I create a head cam to remind myself that that's the camera I want to use to just zoom in on her face, so to speak. And I am just going to copy the default view that I'm looking at right now. And then I'm going to switch to that head cam, and I'm going to zoom in a bit here, so we can kind of get a sense of what she looks like close up. And let's give her some eye makeup first. Wow, okay, let's give her some crazy stuff. I kind of like this one. So we'll select her and apply. And then we'll go over to lips and give her a different color there. And let's just take a look and make sure that eye makeup actually got applied. I'm not quite sure if it did. Yeah, it looks like it worked. So that should work. And now that I've applied, actually, I might as well just put some blush in there. What the heck? All right, that's fine. And now let's pop over to Altern8 and take a look at the parameters there. All right, that is over this direction. Okay, there's a lot of information, and one thing I really wish I had realized when I first got Altern8 is that there is actually a sort of a PDF that walks you through how to use all the different settings and how they work and everything. And there are a lot of settings in here that I probably haven't really explored a lot. I have read through the entire instruction PDF, and some of the things didn't really apply to what I was needing at the time, so I just kind of quickly ignored them. Like, for example, this section here, the alternate brows and trying to think what that says, makeup. You can quickly add this makeup set, and I ignored this for a while because I usually like to use the makeup sets that come with figures, but I have played with them a couple of times, and they basically are like a dark goth looking one, and then another one that is more of a normal look, a daytime look. And I kind of think actually this goth one would actually probably look good with this goth outfit. But anyway, we won't mess with that at the moment. I have noticed that it has caused me issues in the past, and actually in the tips section, I actually dumped all the tips from every section. I have definitely moved all the stuff around so that I could find stuff more easily. When I first got Altern8, one of the drawbacks to me of it is that it's basically the settings are everywhere. I had so much trouble finding things and then remembering where I found them last time. So I took a lot of time, probably way too much time, reorganizing it, and so now I've put all the tips in one little area and called them tips, and so I can flip through and remember, oh yeah, for example, this one I've had this problem before with Altern8, and it says getting a white face look, and if you ever run into this problem, you'll know it because the figure's face will turn completely white. It's baffling. And so the tip here is to turn the diffuse overlay off, and you can literally double click this and it will do that for you. Let's see, what else? The same thing with this red nose. I don't think I've ever gotten the red nose issue. Oops. I don't think I've ever gotten that, and it hasn't really been an issue for me. But we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. There's also some tips here about using no maps if you change the eye color or makeup, like after you apply Altern8 shader, settings, all these things. Remember, the best tip I can give you with this is to apply the makeup that you want to apply, and then add any of these Altern8 enhancements to the skin. And if you end up having to, for whatever reason, go back and change something in terms of the makeup or eye color, then you would want to choose no maps and then start over again. So here's the note about that. Load makeup and other options first before applying Altern8 settings. So just keep that in mind. That's really important. And here, I don't usually use these for whatever reason. I mean, you can, and I have played around with them somewhat. Like, for example, if I wanted to change her skin color to something really dark, and it will change her skin color to these particular maps. And you can also use, like for example, I can change it to this Ico character, and I can either choose the maps version or the no maps version. And in the case of, if I was literally using the Ico 8 character, I would use her maps and apply those. Because I'm using Machiko, I would use the no maps version. So just keep that in mind. If you're using anything other than what's listed here, these base characters, you would use the no maps version for any of those. So I do want to explore those a bit more and play around with those, but I really like to use some settings further down the list here. I often will use this eye socket because it looks quite real, and in her case I'll go ahead and do that. It can be a little bit too much sclera when you use these settings, even if you're using the lowest amount, and the sclera is literally how, you can see right here how red that is, that vein in the eye. And so what I'll do is the lowest amount, but sometimes it even makes their eyes look a little too bleary-eyed, like they've been on a drinking binge. So it really depends on the figure, actually, I find. The Gens mats I haven't really used much, but they're pretty self-explanatory. The nails, I don't know that I've really used those. I think I probably have and just didn't really find a need for them particularly. I haven't also played too much with these. They are really quick settings for changing the lighting scheme. I can go ahead and play around with this actually. I'm just trying to think what we would do. Let's just see what happens if I just add it to the lighting scheme that we already have. It may not have actually worked. Yep, it did. So that gives her a really bright background look. I'm gonna reverse that and try this one and see what happens. Now, in general, to add a lighting scheme or lighting of any kind on top of another lighting scheme that's already in your scene, you would just hold down the Command or Control button and double click on it, and that will allow you to add it on top or in addition to. So anyway, these are a bit too bright considering I already have quite a bit of lighting in the scene already, so I'm just going to leave those off, but you can play around with these settings. Another great thing is they have a dome rotation, which is great. It really quickly moves the dome around her face so you can kind of catch certain shadows and really do that quite fast, as opposed to having to go over into render settings and flip the rotation around manually yourself. So definitely play with those, and you can also quickly change the color of a scene. So it could be cool, it could be neutral, or it could be more warmer tones. So that's also a really great quick thing to use. I use these settings really often. One of the things, I've actually never used this particular setting. I assume it just pops in a maps for both quite quickly, but I like to kind of change how much shine I give someone depending on what I want them to look like in the scene. So let's show you what this really wet skin looks like, and I'll do a really wet lip too. And usually I'll use more low settings. Medium is usually as far as I go up in terms of shininess. And I just haven't really had a need to do any scenes with characters who have wet skin, but like here you can see that it's resolving a bit more, and you can see the shine on her nose, you can see the shine here on her chest. So that's pretty cool that you can instantly change that with these I'm going to just choose what I normally do, which is probably low, I think, for the skin, and maybe medium for the lips. That's pretty good. I found somewhere between low and medium, or even extra low. If a particular light is shining right on them and it's giving it too much shine, I'll tone it down a bit. So here we get into the ones where I really use them all the time. And one of the things I don't want to forget to mention that is really one of the main reasons why I bought this asset in the first place is because I think somewhere on the product page, I think on the product page it does mention that it reduces render time. And in my case, it probably shaves off a couple of hours when I'm rendering a figure 8. And just to give you an idea, or I should put in a disclaimer, I have a MacBook Pro that I'm using. And unfortunately, when I first bought this machine, I hadn't realized at the time that I needed to actually have a I needed to buy a graphics card that was NVIDIA, so that it would correspond to the NVIDIA iRay engine in DAZ Studio. And I ended up getting the AMD graphics card instead, which means that I'm basically rendering everything using my CPU, which is a real bummer. And there's apparently nothing I can do about it except get a different computer, which is not going to happen anytime soon anyway. So I'm kind of stuck with this. And so anything that reduces my render time is huge in my book. And so it really does make a massive difference in the amount of time that it takes. And it does a great job. The skin looks really real. A lot of times I get feedback. See, one of my businesses is I create 3D stock renders for other cover designers, usually for book cover designers. So I have a stock store that I'm sort of building stock for, and I do a lot of figures and different poses and expressions and things like that. And I'm often told how real looking my renders are, and a huge reason for that is this particular asset, this Altern8. So just to get into I usually choose skin maps from here, or instead of choosing the maps, I'll choose the skin tone that I want from this list instead. So I will often choose like C or tint, I think tint B sometimes, E. So it really just depends on the kind of skin tone I want to give the person. And it really depends on so many different factors, their ethnicity, everything. So in this case, I've just added B just because I just wanted to see what it looked like on this particular figure. And Alternate Translucency is the next option. And that one, as you can see, it goes from really pale to really more, almost looks sunburnt really in this one. And it's really the translucency, we can go more in depth into that, but really this is less of a tutorial and more of a product review in terms of like how it's, I won't go too in depth into what translucency is and what tint is and how they work. So I just want to show you more how you apply these settings. And so I just decided to choose the D translucency setting. Okay, so then we get over here into translucency color, which kind of refines it even further, and I think I will go with D. Maybe tone it down a bit. We'll see how that works. And you may have to adjust your lighting depending on how bright you go with the skin tone. So you can see she's kind of getting blown out a bit by the light. Where's the soft fill? Okay, hold on just a second. see how dark this goes. Let me go too dark. Yeah, it's a bit dark now. But anyway, you can fiddle with that as well. If we pop over here to transmitted measurements, okay, now here we can end up with some crazy looking skin. So I tend to not go too high with this because it'll darken the skin quite a bit. And I'll just show you what that can look like. Oh, not bad. Probably because we started out with such a bright look to her. And then just to give you an idea of what it would look like on the opposite side of that, that gives it a cooler look, really. She looks more red over here on the highest distance measurement. That gives you kind of a general overview of how this Altern8 shader set can work. I wanted to give you a sense of the rendering. Let me just pop in some really quick tone mapping. I have a tendency to change these settings a bit sometimes. All right, I'm going to keep the dome off and the ground off, and let's just get a sense. Let's go back to our default camera and get a sense of what this looks like. So all in all, I would say this is my favorite of all the products that I've used, because it just really does a phenomenal job of making skin look as real as it can get. And there may be some other assets in the store that do a similar job or work in a different way and do a good job, but this is my one of my first sets for skin. I recently bought Skin Builder. I've forgotten now the number of it, and I'm just getting used to that one. Eventually I'll do a product review for that, I'm sure, or a tutorial or something like that, but I'm not quite used to it yet. And then there's just even a lot more settings for that one. So you can kind of get a sense of how this will end up looking. And so much of it is just lighting and the figure that you buy, and then really just these translucency and tint colorings on the skin. If one is below par, you won't get this all-around excellent look that I'm always striving for. So I really worked to find the best products that I could that would give me the most realistic look that I could get. And that's what my goal is personally. You may find that you like a more smooth skin or more plastic looking skin, and that's just the look you're going for whatever reason. And that's totally fine too. I just am particularly interested in making the most realistic photoreal look I can. So, and I'll always keep striving for that. Because that's really what my customers are looking for in terms of cover art. So hopefully this product review makes you want to go out and buy this product immediately, because honestly it's just fantastic. So thanks for listening, and please subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see more product reviews or tutorials, and feel free to leave a comment in the comments section. And thanks for listening.